Welcome back to another episode of the cycle kart build, and in this episode I'm making the dashboard. I sat in the kart, and originally I was going to go for this standard design which I was then going to bend over in the edges, but having tried to get in I've realised it's too tight and I'm going to come up with a more modern design. I'm just using clecos to hold it into the holes in the former that I will then rivet it to. And I'm thinking I can have some padding up each side like on some other karts, because then when you're holding on with your legs it's a bit more comfortable. And with my feet on the pedals, that's about the height my knees get to. So even with the bends where it would have been a little bit close, and it's a bit close to get in and out. So I'm going to come up with a sort of sleeker design, and I'll have to make something to go around the steering column when I put that in. So I'll be back once I've come up with the design. I've now got the dashboard cut out. These holes will have mesh in like vents, and this bit will just be a raised section up here rather than going all the way up. But I'm happy with this. It has to be quite high to be able to fit in. Remember, the steering wheel is removable, but now I can cut this out of aluminium. I've just cut the basic shape out of aluminium and it's clecoed in place, so looking really nice and neat. Next thing I need to do is I need to file this smooth and then bend up these two pieces so they're under the back. I can then in the future get some rubber edging to go around this edge, and if it needs strengthening I can rivet on a little bit of angle iron or angle aluminium behind here. So on the front all you'll see is 3 rivets, but yeah, that's only if it needs it. So next thing to do is to file that, bend these up and cleco it back in place. The dashboard is now completely shaped. It's been filed in here so it's nice smooth radius, and then I've bent the back, which was just in between 2 bits of angle iron on the vise, bent it down. I didn't anneal it. That was risky because it could have cracked across the front here, but it didn't. But I didn't want to anneal it because otherwise this whole panel would have tended to warp and bend. So it's meant that despite the risk, it's come out cleaner. And then over these little corner bits, you can see I just hammered these over, and then I'll round off that edge on both sides. So it's just sort of hold it in place around this. And as that will be covered anyway by the foam I was saying about, like around these corners too. But yeah, I'm very happy with how this has turned out. Now the important bit is to see if I fit. I'm in the kart and I fit. It's a snug fit, that's for sure, but taking the wheel off, it's easy enough to get in and out. Well, I haven't tried getting out with this, the aluminium version of the dashboard, but it looks quite neat from here. On this side there'll be a few switches for turning it on and off, and on this side there'll be lights and some other switches, but I'm quite happy with this. Next thing to do on this is to work out where I want the switches and how many I need on each side. I'm not planning on having any dials on this bit of dashboard, but on the original Delage there's a mirror here, like the style which is on the Bugatti over there. But yeah, I'm thinking that if I want any dials or a screen of some sort that might look more modern, that would go in there instead of a mirror, so that would be sort of sat here. But there'll be bodywork which will come up to sort of this far overhang around here. Obviously the bodywork then comes along here and scoops down on this side, but none of that's done yet. But I can now work out where the switches will be, drill for those and install the switches, because one of the next parts is the wiring harness. So I'll drill for these and I'll show you that, and then it will be the end of the video. The next section of the dashboard is to install the switches. I've drilled 6 12mm holes, which are what the threads on the these toggle switches I've got require. Most of them are 12 volts, so I've got a 6-pack of 12 volt switches, and I got one of these caps. This one will be the one which goes to the contactor, which is 48 volts. So there's a 48 volt toggle switch coming, but it's the same size, so I can test fit it with these ones. But I'm happy with how these are going in so far. I'll finish installing the switches. I'll put them in the dashboard. I'll put the dashboard in the cart, and then I'll explain what each one's going to do. I'm now sat in the cart with all the switches installed, and I'll run you through what each one will do. Firstly, I'm quite happy with how these look. There'll be symbols above each one on what it does. This one with the cover is the kill switch, which will kill the contactor. So that will be connected to the connecting side of the contactor. So that's hence the cover. So that's quite obvious that will be just to disconnect the battery completely. Then there'll be an arm switch that goes into the ECU, and a forward or reverse, because that's also one of the features of the motor that I'm using, is the controller has that. So that's quite neat. And then on this side I'll have headlights, underlights down the sides, under the chassis rails down here, and then I have a 6th switch with currently no use. If anyone has any ideas of what this switch could be, please leave those in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Yeah, this is part 1 of the dashboard complete. I'm interested to see what you think of it, and I'll see you in the next one.